Hello guys, the year is closing up and we have had our final update for Hell Let Loose in the form of Update 13 and the infamous Flame Tickler. Now, a lot of content that was planned for 2022 has been delayed to 2023, and I wanted to go through some of the things we can expect from the new content and maybe some other things we could wish for down the road. Now, the big old elephant in the room is obviously that the British Commonwealth forces that was slated for 2022 is now coming early in 23. And to be fair, it is a very large undertaking, bringing in a whole new faction and all the juicy new assets, weapons and vehicles that follow. But we will talk about those in just a minute. We are also missing the Flakpanzer, deployable mortars and flak cannons, which were promised back in 2021, I believe. So at the time of writing, no roadmap for 2023 has been revealed, nor have the locations of the British maps, or how many that we are getting. All we know is that we will be against the Germans, and that narrows it down just a little bit. So we'll also be getting a whole host of new weaponry for the British faction, and we can reasonably surmise what roles they will be issued to, but we'll go through some of the guns now. So the first and probably the most commonly used will be the Lee Enfield No. 4 rifle, and depending on what stats they follow, it should have a slightly higher rate of fire than the other bolt action rifles in the game, and not to mention it will have an extra 5 rounds in the magazine. And unfortunately, the British never developed a semi-automatic weapon, so either we'll be using a lot more bolt action rifles or we'll get something loaned from the US, either the M1 or M1A1. Now, it will be historically accurate, but it will also be a little bit boring to just have a bunch of US weapons ported over and only having a handful of British weapons. I feel like we can dig deep into the treasure trove of crazy British weapons. Maybe even adding the jungle carbine in there for a lol, I don't know. Up next we have the Sten gun, which is an SMG developed by the British. It also gained such nicknames as the Plumber's Nightmare, Plumber's Abortion, or the Stench gun. I love all three of those. I'd imagine it has similar stats to the MP40, give or take a few rounds per minute, and if we're lucky we will get a suppressed variant, but I will talk about that later. And of course we have the Bren gun, which will go into the machine gun role, but depending on what variants we get, they may want to add another MG, such as the Lewis gun or the Vickers, as we need something that can compete, even if just marginally, with the MG42. And as I was doing research for this video, I discovered that there is a variant of the Bren gun that has a 100 round drum magazine that sits on the top. Will we get it? Who knows? Probably not, but I now want it very, very much. And obviously a sniper variant of the Lee Enfield rifle will make an appearance, and if historically accurate, will be about 3.5 times magnification, which is not amazing, but it is better than the US Springfield, so there's that. And I imagine also still 10 rounds, so that could give us a bit of an edge. Hopefully the anti-tank role will get a little bit of diversity in terms of what we can use. The first most obvious choice will be the PAT, which stands for Projector Infantry Anti-Tank. Just rolls off the tongues, well done boys. Now this will probably be a little bit tricky to use than your standard bazooka or Panzerschreck because it has poor range, and I'd imagine poor accuracy as well, but again, if historically accurate, it should have a little bit more damage, and it should also have very, very good armor penetration, which it was renowned for. And it was also referred to as the Housecracker, which gives me a little bit of hope that we might get a different ammo type that we can take with us, such as HE, and just yeet these things through a window, clearing out a house, or through a bunker slit. Either way, I need this thing right now. And I'm holding out hope that we get a Hawkins mine / grenade. Now this thing was apparently designed due to the shortage of anti-tank weaponry available to the British after Dunkirk, and as such was designed to be multi-purpose. So it could be laid as a mine, or you could chuck it at a tank just like a normal anti-tank grenade. Very exciting prospects, and hopefully would change up the anti-tank meta. It'd be interesting just to play it a little bit differently. It'd be fun. I feel like this could be introduced in its own country's variation in the other factions as well, just to give you a bit more variety in the role. Also, I want to see sticky anti-tank grenades. Just saying, I want them. Now this is by no means my speciality, but vehicles that have been announced so far are the Firefly and the Valentine, whatever you want to pronounce it as. Now, this is exciting times, and hopefully that's not the only two we're getting, but the Firefly is essentially just a Sherman tank, so that's not too exciting. Hopefully we could get to see the big bastard Churchill tank, which is a glorious blocky mess of a tank, but that would be a very, very cool introduction of a heavy tank. And a small exciting prospect for me at least is the strafing run will probably be a Spitfire, and the sound of that alone will be enough to soil the enemy's undergarments. Just have a listen to this. So very exciting things with the British Commonwealth on the way, but we still don't know the theatre in which we will be placed. Now, assuming it's not D-Day themed, aka Juno and Sword Beaches or the glider landings, then it's reasonable to guess that it's probably Market Garden, with Arnhem and Eindhoven as very strong choices. And these would be very cool locations to fight over. Definitely a bit of a change in tone, change in assets, so that could be very exciting to see. Also, in terms of changing the tone and even the colour palette a lot, somewhere like Africa or the Mediterranean both offering very unique, challenging landscapes with the potential for some gameplay changes, just keeping things fresh. But only time will tell what gets announced, and I might have to do a reaction to the trailer as it drops because I'm getting a little bit excited and literally nothing has been announced yet. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, the anti-air vehicles and buildable anti-air never materialised, and no word on the ETA nor what function beyond decimating infantry it'll actually have. Will it be a way to counter bombing runs and strafing runs, or will it just end up being a meme? Who knows? Either way, I do want it as soon as possible. Also, mortars have yet to be added, and it is also not clear what changes to the artillery meta that will actually have, but we will discuss that in a little bit more detail later on in the video. So that's what we know is to come, or at least what has been promised. And unless an update or a roadmap from Black Matter materialises before I release this video, then I'm going to go ahead and go down my own rabbit hole of hype and fan theories. Now, bear in mind, I am no game developer and definitely not a historian, so if I say something that sounds crazy or impossible, that is why. It might also be the 4 glasses of eggnog I have consumed while writing this. It's still Christmas, goddammit! So, as I mentioned, the mortars are being introduced, and we still don't know what that means for the RT meta going forward. Will it change? Will they remove artillery? We don't know, but personally I hope it stays but gets changed, and I've got some pretty normal ideas on how to change that, so stay with me. First thing to change is to make it so the artillery can be sabotaged/destroyed by a satchel, and only an enemy engineer with supplies can repair it. So first of all, we need to potentially update the engineer role in some capacity, or give the recon spotter some additional equipment. So if the recon squad were to be changed in some way, or an additional type of recon squad were added, the spotter would be equipped with a satchel and can go behind enemy lines obviously as normal, but destroys only garrisons, artillery and other assets, supplies, what have you. Or the alternative, which is a little bit more outlandish and kind of doesn't really fit, but the engineer sappers are allowed to deploy on friendly recon outposts, only them, and then they can go and do their task of destroying things with all the equipment that they have. Now, that does sound crazy, read out loud, but if you think about having a suppressed Sten with you when you do this, it sounds fucking awesome. And is in line with what the Special Forces would be doing, so I don't think it's too far of a stretch to add a suppressed Sten into the game, and the engineer sapper crew to be responsible for destroying the artillery. Obviously, this role would need a lot of work and fine-tuning by people that actually know what they're doing and talking about, but I still like the idea, and I'd like to know what you think down in the comments. Now, not only would this be a cool role, but it would allow the normal sniper to do things that aren't just camping the artillery guns. They could actually do their job, which would be great. Plus, having the enemy team need to call back an engineer and even a support player to repair the artillery means that the risk for doing so is definitely worth it, as it will give a natural cooldown to the artillery and would allow the use of mortars to become a little bit more natural as well. Maybe they balance each other out. Now, before you flame me in the comments, remember, eggnog. Lots of Christmassy eggnog. Anyway, that's what to expect in 2023, and a little bit of a wish list as well. Let me know down in the comments what you want to see from the British Commonwealth forces and what quality of life updates are at the top of your Christmas list. Also, while I've got you, join the Discord. The link is down in the comments and in the description. It's small, but it's growing, and it's a good place to hang out, find other Hell Let Loose players, chat about Hell Let Loose, and chat with me, and eventually in the new year, squad up with me as well, which is the only place it's going to be discussed. So if you want to get on that, jump into the Discord now. Oh, and subscribe, and all those other things that you do with videos that you like. So, have a great New Year's, guys. Drink lots, hug everyone, and then embrace your hangovers and use the pain to destroy your enemies. Okay, I've been McBluffin, and I will see you in the new year.